in the immediate aftermath of 9/11, we did some things that were wrong. We did a whole lot of things that were right.
We've taken control of the oil in the Middle East, the oil that we're talking about.
Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create.
We choose truth over facts.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. The foothills of the Himalayas.
Television. People are saying,
we are fighting Satan himself.
Journalists, ask them the question! Ask them! Ask them! Ask them!
They agreed that everybody once they inside they should. Anyway, my time's up. I'm sorry. America's dead.
Fuck yeah, it is.
Yeah.
What's going on, everybody?
Messing around with those music intros. I was a little bit more edgier than I was expecting.
I liked it. I was rocking out.
I liked it. I just throw some royalty-free shit in there. I mean, try not to get copyrighted as much as possible. So
I think for the next one, we should just make it 5 minutes of just yodeling. Just throw everybody off. Just fuck everybody up. You know?
Gregorian. No, it's just Gregorian jazz.
Just like that Batman on drugs theme for like 5 minutes straight. Just you guys know.
No, the people need music. They need the music is part of it. It's part of the game.
It's the build-up. Anyway, hi everybody. Welcome to
Political Only episode whatever. And we're doing another show. I'm Big Man Crab. This is Stone Himbo. Our names are up again because we're all using it. We're part of the Indie News Network, where we're streaming mainly at. You could subscribe to us there, and which we're only 5 away from 2K. So get a buddy to subscribe. Do what you can. Help out the crew. We're all working other jobs doing. This is just a fun side project. So.
I never want this to be a career. If it ever becomes one, I will retreat to a barren wasteland.
I'd rather be behind the scenes. Yeah, to me.
I do this because I want change. That's the only reason I volunteer my time and energy here. I look at the world, like I've said in previous episodes, I look at the world and what it is, and I see how much fucking better it could be, and it could be. And the reason why it is nonsensical and stupid. So, yeah. Find some friends, get them to subscribe, make a second account, subscribe it yourself, make 10 accounts and subscribe on every single one of them.
Yeah, that's why I wouldn't be able to do this like 3 times a week. I mean, I would need to dedicate so much time that I don't have, and I don't know how other people do it. That's like why I like the idea of like every one of us like taking a day out of the week and just like having consistent content that way. That works for me. Honestly, I could do once a week for now, at least.
I mean, like for me, I don't know if I have enough like people juice to do this full time. I honestly don't know.
Yeah,
I would have to try, and if I realize I don't have any, I'd have to figure some other shit out. So, yeah. I'd be like, what now? I quit my job for this. This is not good.
So. I just wanted everyone to see this one video because it's honestly this is insane to me. Oops. Dude, where is it?
Whoa. We're having fun, folks. We're having fun with faces.
We're just chilling. There we go.
Fucking with faces.
1 second. There we go. That's what I was talking about. That's what I mean.
You can maximize
it. They added this new like scenes feature where like it's kind of useful, but it's not at the same time.
Yeah.
See, like now it goes back here. I'm wondering. All right, whatever. This is an insane video. I just couldn't, like, at the end, I didn't even laugh. My mouth was just wide open. I'm like, if this is real, this is totally something. This is totally something else. I just need people to see this, to understand the reality that we're living with and how embedded this shit actually is. And let me turn these off.
And you, my man, what do you do? You're an investigator. What kind? Like for the police? You're a war crimes. Is that true? Is that true? Oh my God. Jeez, we really went up a notch, didn't we? Until then, it was just all fun, like, oh, first date in the front row. And you're like, I'm here to investigate war crimes. What are you working on at the moment? What's your... Ukraine. You're working on investigating war crimes in Ukraine. Fuck me, man. I thought when you said infrastructure, it was like going to kill the energy, but fuck. You came to win. I like it.
See, like, I don't... You hear people are like, aw, like when he's talking about Ukraine. I want people to notice this. Notice how, like, the crowd reacts when he talks about Ukraine.
Moment, what's your... Ukraine, you're working on investigating war crimes in Ukraine.
You hear, like, the little aw in the background. And then as soon as you mention Israel... Or watch it.
Fuck me, man. I thought when you said infrastructure, it was like going to kill the energy, but fuck. You came to win. I like it. And are you from the UK? No, where are you from? You're from Israel. Great. Oh my God. Jesus Christ. Of all the places you could have said, you're a war crimes investigator from Israel looking at Ukraine. I think the call may be coming from inside the house.
So
That's
I don't...
so good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't particularly understand how that happens. I don't even know if that guy's telling the truth, to be honest with you. But to have that in your audience is quite a... So that's how you know the monsters are among us. This guy is working as a war crimes investigator, and he's from Israel. Why are we like letting like dual? I don't know. So we have Israelis that are investigating war crimes at all. Like, why? That seems like a hiring decision. That, like you said, it's inside the house. So, I mean,
wouldn't it just be easier to say Mossad? Wouldn't that be a way easier thing to say?
Yeah, I mean that's what it is.
I'm a war crimes investigator, like looking at Ukraine. Like why do you have to like make all these additional steps? Who says I'm a war crime investigator? We know you're probably working for Mossad. Just say I'm Mossad, or can you not say?
You say I'm a Mossad agent. You could just say that, and it would have been pretty much the same.
Just be like I'm a fucking Fed. Okay, I'm here to make sure you don't say anything too out of line tonight. Comedian number 26. Fuck.
All right, so here's some more shits that we have to take, which is more of like a breaking news segment, which I think is a fair name for it.
Yeah, we cooked this up.
This has happened just a couple hours ago.
We cooked this up in the lab.
Mm-hmm. So
either shits we have to take or takes we have to shit. I'm torn, personally.
So I don't necessarily watch everything that trust Trump, anything that Trump says, but and you know that when he's talking about releasing the JFK files or declassifying them, doesn't necessarily mean, because he's already said it twice. He has been president for 4 years and he chose not to. But listen, in this, he talks about the reason why he didn't release them. So just listen to this. That's the interesting part for me.
Okay.
You said the first thing, or one of the things you wanted to do, was release the JFK file. And then you said later, I saw it and I wasn't really ready to do it. And then I saw a clip where you changed your mind and you said, I think we're ready to see this file. And I'm just curious.
What's in it?
What? No,
tell us right now.
What happened? Like what? Yeah.
I actually did do it. I released a lot, as you know. But when it came to the whole thing, I was hit by some people that worked for me that are great people that you would respect. And They asked me not to do it, and I'm saying, why? Tell me why. And they said, sir, I think it needs a little more time. And I released a lot, but I said, if they feel so strongly, I respect the people, and would have done that again. But this time, I'm just going to do it.
RFK says the CIA killed his uncle. Do you believe that?
Well, this wasn't CIA that asked me, but I think CIA was probably behind it. But they didn't. They would have preferred that I not release the rest of it. So we did give quite a bit. It's going to be done early on. A lot of people want to see that. And whatever it may say, I won't say. I sort of have an idea. But whatever it is, it'll be very interesting for people to see. And we're going to have to learn from it.
What does that mean? We released a little bit. We didn't release all of it because I got a call from Mike Pompeo and he told me not to do it. But we released a little.
I was gonna say.
What else? So then, what are you gonna do? He didn't say.
I was gonna say I've seen this fucking episode before. But this is the thing with Orange Man, right? Like if you notice, he never directly responds to a question. He doesn't just answer any.
They would have.
He just sidelines everything and then launches into like another. He's very NPC dialogue tree-esque, if I may, rather. Yeah, I don't know what he's talking about. Is this like a sort of campaign promise? Like,
it's
if you vote
supposed to
for
be
me,
I mean, it's interesting to me that the appeal comes from like his base, which is like something that we should do. And yes, Orca is correct. Israel was beyond the jet. Well, it's because of the nuclear bomb, or no, like Dominion. The nuclear base.
Don't forget all those statements he made about secret societies too. Don't forget all the other things that JFK talked about. And this is why I'm apathetic, by the way, when it comes to I'm sorry I'm going to burst some of y'all's bubbles. I don't give a shit. You got to wake up. This is why I'm apathetic about any sort of real change through the electoral system. Because it all goes back to JFK. You could be in that office. You could be in the White House, or the greenhouse. Could be a different color. It doesn't matter what house you're in, but you could literally be in there. You could be the commander in chief, and if you step out of line, well, all of a sudden you're dead. So everybody can go.
That was truly the defining moment in American history. That really taught us all on our faces that none of it matters. None of it really matters. Like
that should have been.
Doesn't actually control the country. They can just shoot him at any time.
Exactly, and not just that, but there's no better proof than right now. We're looking at a man who can barely. He can't do anything except look confused and just constant shitting and farting and saying words that it looks like your cat jumped on the keyboard of the teleprompter. And we're supposed to believe that this position is the highest in the land. We're supposed to believe that this person who's in charge is the one calling the shots. Now, whether it's red team or blue team or green team or independent or whatever, what this should communicate to you is that there's obviously people behind the scenes here. And if so, what does it matter who the fuck you vote in? They're still going to have to take direction. You're still going to have to take direction from those same people. You're going to have to take direction from those very people that probably had JFK shot and the people who are obviously pointing Biden in one direction or another, because he obviously doesn't have the cognitive functioning ability. Anybody can fucking see this by now to make these kind of like huge decisions. So what does it matter who you vote in? They're just going to be the face that's going to be lying to you. We went through this with Obama when we were younger. Everybody thought he was going to do X, Y, and Z. He was going to change everything. What did he do? It was just more status quo. It It was more war, more imperialism. Record drone strikes. And then Trump gets in, what does he do? He breaks the record for drone strikes. And people actually think electoralism is going to take them fucking anywhere. First and foremost, first past the post voting, I will go on my grave saying this. First past the post voting isn't even fucking democratic, because you always fall in the same trap. And I've been trying to make this point on other shows, and I was trying to make it during that weird.
You saw that with the New York mayoral election. We have like they have ranked choice voting in New York City, and we got Eric Adams.
Yeah, so
it's not a solution, no. I don't think so.
So the thing is, like, the thing is, like, I completely forgot my train of thought. Okay, anyway, my point is that
my point is I forgot.
My point is I forgot this whole fucking dealio. No, my main point with all of this is that, and I tried to make this painfully clear during the whole, like, we all remember that Cornel West hysteria where everybody was making like 25 posts a day about Cornel West, and they were just like jerking off all over the place, like, Cornel! We all remember that shit. We all remember when everybody was frothing at the mouth over him and ready to like.
Some still do.
Oh, they do.
Not a lot.
Ready to like
sell
a bunch of their organs for him. And I was trying to make the point. It's like, great. Cornell's a great choice.
I talked to a guy at a bar in Hoboken who was like, he asked me like who I'm voting for, and I'm like, I'm not voting. And then he's like, I was looking at Cornel West, and I'm like, dude, you just don't even. Joe Stein can't even make it on the ballot in New York. Why is that?
The thing is, ranked choice, you always fall in the same trap. Okay, I got my point back. Fuck yeah. Okay, so my point was, you always fall in the same trap, and if anybody disagrees with me, ask me why we've had this same trap for so long and nothing's been done about it. You always fall into the same trap with ranked choice voting. You're always stuck into this lesser evil shit, and as Hunter S. Thompson said many decades ago, actually I think it was in 2012, so a decade ago. He said it a decade ago. I just lied to you, I'm sorry. Or my brain's just soup. He said the problem with voting for the lesser of two evils is the parties can set it up that way. And that's kind of the big quandary that happens with first past the post voting. With any kind of voting under this system, it's this lesser evil panic that happens. And every single election cycle, we're still stuck in it. Up here in Canada, we have the same thing. In fact, our third party, the NDP, pretty much formed a coalition with the Liberals because they both have to beat back the boogeyman Conservatives. So take that as you will. But when you're always stuck within this dichotomy, okay, you don't have a democracy, because you shouldn't have to vote while holding your fucking nose. And with third parties, they always get cucked like this, not just because the established parties try to do everything they can to sabotage them, not just because they always conveniently happen to be poorly prepared and never ready to actually like get their shit together, because that magically happens every time. Who'd have thought? At the end of the day, it gets time to election season, and people just fucking panic. They panic every single time they panic, because
even the ranked choice voting is kind of like even ranked choice voting is kind of like a lesser evilism on a stronger degree. It's preferential, but I mean,
it's better, but it has the same central problem. Okay, it's the same central problem, even with ranked choice voting. And I'll be the first one to say, we can do so much fucking better than any of these systems, especially in 2024 with the level of technology we have. We can do so much better. But the problem that happens every single goddamn time is that gets time towards election season and everybody panics. And all they have to do, All the established parties have to do, all the uniparty has to do, all the ruling class has to do. All they have to do is make the boogeyman progressively scarier. All they have to do is make the boogeyman progressively worse, and people will be forced to vote for the lesser of two evils. And it progressively drags the country to the right. That's the problem. You can just make the bad guy worse, and then the lesser evil can get away with more because they're still objectively better. And a lot of people don't have an argument past like, well, this guy isn't Super Hitler 5000, he's a downgraded Super Hitler 2000. So we got to go with Super Hitler 2000. And there's no like fucking, no, just scrap all this. None of us want this. Everybody panics. And you saw that during the midterms last year. I saw
okay, like, so since you bring up this conversation, maybe it's worth watching this because have you seen this yet?
Oh yeah, I saw this. I think Hard Lens covered this today. Yeah,
How does Donald Trump winning strengthen Donald Trump? If he becomes president, it's not only bad for stuff like climate policy. It's not only bad for stuff like corporate regulation, the economy, et cetera, et cetera. Donald Trump winning, in my view, would significantly strengthen the corporate-aligned politicians, media outlets, and consultants that currently control the Democratic Party. The same class of people who obstruct progress on everything. It would so significantly strengthen the Democratic Party leadership, Donald Trump winning, that it's not actually insane to believe that that Democratic Party leadership in some ways wants Donald Trump to win, or at least would be absolutely fine with Donald Trump winning. So you're probably wondering, well, wait a minute, how does Donald Trump winning strengthen the corporate masters of the Democratic Party? Because it would reimpose the rhetorical parameters that those Democratic Party bosses want. They want a discourse that is purely anti-Trump all the time, a discourse that exclusively focuses on Trump's outbursts and insanity and crimes, a discourse that marginalizes all other topics as some sort of distraction from the central cause of opposing Donald Trump. They want a discourse that casts all pressure on the Democratic Party, not just as a distraction, but as traitorous allyship with Donald Trump. That's what the Democratic Party leadership wants. A Trump victory in November gives the current Democratic Party leadership exactly those rhetorical conditions which allow them to further suppress all pressure on the Democratic Party itself. So if you want to help the corporate center of the Democratic Party, the corrupt corporate aligned leaders of the current Democratic Party, if you want to help them, it seems to me your choice in this election is very clear. Vote for Donald Trump.
Why? So what? There's no clear direction here. That's the problem with this.
First and foremost,
the idea is that there's like some kind of like aversion to Donald Trump because it helps corporate Democrats.
So I'm not sure about this because what I'm parsing from this is like a 40 chess version of Vote Blue, because focus on what he's saying. Focus on what he's trying.
He's using because there's semblances of truth in there, but he's kind of like flipping it into a more. The problem is there's a lack of context here, and he doesn't say explicitly to vote third party or to vote independent, which leads it to like believe. And he posted this. This is his clip. He posted it like this.
But here, I mean, okay, am I misunderstanding this though? And call me out if I am, right? I heard this once and I was like kind of distracted. I like listening to Hard Lens when I work, so it's a really good like work. Anyway.
Me too.
So at the end of the day,
it's a great morning.
Those morning dumps, am I right? Okay, so at the end of the day, what he's saying, what he's still saying is vote Trump bad. That's like, you got to cut away from all the rhetorical tricks. You got to cut away from even like the weird like linguistic games he's trying to play here. He's essentially just saying voting Trump is bad. Voting Trump will benefit the party you're so pissed off about. But he's not giving a direction, like you said. So he's still pushing people in a direction away from Trump. And there's still going to be that lesser evil fucking fear. He's not objectively saying Biden's better, but he's saying voting for Trump would do bad things here, here, and here. So election day is going to come. And just ask yourself, what is this rhetoric going to do? Is it going to encourage people to vote for Donald Trump? Or is it going to encourage them not to vote for Donald Trump and then get them back in that same fucking quandary of, well, now I got to weigh the evils. There's another thing too, real quick. I think a lot of these people, they don't just want you to vote blue. They just want you to vote. Because in the context of the Uniparty, as long as you're participating, as long as they have your participation, your consent, your buy-in to this system, well, they have you by the balls. Because if you voted for Trump, oh, well, you're guilty for anything he did and anything that the liberals did. Oh, did you vote for Biden? Oh, okay. Well, then, if he's not doing anything, then why did you vote for him? They want people to continue to participate in electoralism because they need people to legitimize this process. They need people suckered in because that's how they feel like they still have control. That's how the rich and powerful feel like they still have control. People are showing up and they're voting and they're participating. Okay? What he doesn't want you doing is pursuing other actions. He doesn't want you to finally arrive at the correct conclusion that this is all pro wrestling and your vote you might as well wipe your ass with because you always get the same result. Nothing materially changes, and for your whole life, like my fucking whole life and like Crab's whole life, things have just kind of been on a steady decline regardless of who gets in power. Never changes, just gets a little bit worse. The rich get a little bit richer. You all know this. You're all fucking smart. David Sirota just wants you to keep buying into this.
We already hit a half hour, so let's hit the first story. It's pretty late already. But,
sorry, folks. I'm chatty today. I had an extra coffee, so.
How much do you drink a day? Because I know Andy drinks he's drinking at 7 p.m.
No.
So I'm not gonna lie. I used to drink 5 to 6 cups of coffee a day. It was unhinged. Now what I do, I drink a cup of coffee in the morning, maybe 2 if I'm like groggy, if I don't get a good sleep. Sometimes I have trouble sleeping. Nowadays what I do is 1 or 2 cups of coffee in the morning, and then throughout the day, I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but I'll give it as a pro tip, especially for anybody else who's got that lovely ADHD. Halfway through the day, I switch to green tea. Green tea contains high amounts of what's called L-theanine. And L-theanine really helps concentration and relaxation. It's perfectly natural. Green tea is very inexpensive. You just have a couple tea bags, and it sounded bad. Just have a couple tea bags. Just have a couple.
Take a couple of tea bags to the mouth.
Get a couple tea bags in your mouth, and you'll be good to go.
Yeah, get a couple tea bags in your mouth, and then you'll go.
I can't go through my day without getting tea bagged. I got to be honest. Nobody's allowed to clip that either.
Now we have the West openly making a threat towards China. You could see the empire failing, kind of flailing its arms at its last breath. This is Stoltenberg now threatening China with sanctions because it's worked so well on Russia.
China is trying to get it both ways. China is propping up the Russian war economy. They are sharing a lot of technologies, microelectronics, which are key for Russia to build missiles, weapons they use against Ukraine. But at the same time, China tries to maintain normal economic relationships with European NATO allies.
So you think there should be sanctions, perhaps?
At some stage, we should consider some kind of economic cost if China doesn't change their behavior, because now China is the main supporter of Russia's war effort, war aggression against Ukraine, the biggest war in Europe since the Second World War, and at the same time they try to have a normal relationship with European allies, and this.
So this is kind of up your alley. That we're entering a phase of World War III, of which we're starting to pick fights with the East Asians. I mean, of course, Taiwan's heating up, but it's also because we have Korea, Vietnam, South Korea, not South Korea, but that's under our thumb, but China, that are arming the Russian war effort. There's two giant sides coming together. Battling it out. By the way, Himbo Bad Cookies wants to see your tips. Just letting you know.
I don't know if we have time for that tonight, but yeah, let's we'll play it by ear, buddy.
We'll play it by ear.
We'll play it by back.
And now, just today, we had a new round of sanctions coming out. Queen Ursula herself. She's announcing the 14th. You can't even put that in your hands. The 14th round of sanctions against Russia. This hard-hitting package will further deny Russia access to key technologies and will strip Russia of its further energy revenues. Tackle Putin's shadow fleet and shadow banking network. What the fuck? You would think that if the sanctions were hard-hitting, they would have worked the first 13 fucking times you did them.
She
when
said
they announced these, Howard? Yeah, I know.
She said hard-hitting package. She's gonna teabag Russia, everybody. No, I mean, at what point is this just the illusion that they're doing anything? I feel like a big portion of what the West is doing right now when it comes to Russia, and especially China, like we'll see, is they want to keep maintaining the illusion of control. This is the equivalent of that dude that fucking gets clapped within the first 10 seconds of a Call of Duty match, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, it was lagging." It's the same fucking thing. Oh, my controller battery died. You know, they're trying to keep like the facade going. They know.
Well,
all of these people know. They see the writing on the wall. They know that their empire is crumbling and the rest of the world is moving on without them, and new empires are rising and will likely be the future. Like them, hate them, whatever you want to say. The reality is China will most certainly be the next great empire of this planet.
And other countries know that too. It seems like you have to understand, like, our rulers are not just incompetent; they're arrogantly stupid as well. And Jeffrey Sachs talks about this as well. There's a level of arrogance in the United States leadership that leads them to believe that no matter what they do, they will never suffer the consequences of it.
Yes, because...
So here we go. We have the entire rest of the world banding together against what? The United States. This is happening. Russia and North Korea, just yesterday, signing a mutual pact to defend each other with military. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's fine. I just got excited and blurted shit out. You were making a point, so that's on me. That's not on you. Again, just squirrel brain. I didn't get teabagged enough today, so I'm lacking in the concentration. Goddamn, nobody's allowed to clip this, or I'm blocking you. Just saying. No. Here's the thing. Right? Like the West. This is kind of, I believe Caitlin Johnstone made this point at one point where it's kind of like leaving a relationship with an abusive person. The worst is when you finally fucking leave. And this is kind of what the world is doing to America. And they are all arrogantly stupid, but that's because for the longest time, they haven't had to think. They haven't had to really strategize that much. Not really. They haven't really had to really plan that much for anything because they've had this fucking stranglehold on the world. So they've operated with that in mind. They've hired people with that in mind, that they don't really need to work that hard on developing their empire because they have a stranglehold on the world. And now they're losing their grip on that stranglehold. And we're starting to see just how fucking incompetent all these people are, because this is a time where they need to plan. It's where they need to have intelligence, when they need to think and act and plan for the future. And they don't have those skills because they haven't needed them, because that's what happens when you have a gun to the head of the rest of the world. You don't need those skills.
And also they're trust fund babies. Like we used to have smart leaders like Henry Kissinger, and like people like who are like not like morally smart, but like, mafia type smart. Who they knew what they were doing in the sense of like, both cover up. I mean, they killed a president. I mean, either way. That has nothing to do with Henry Kissinger. But I'm just saying, we've had competent leaders in the past, but right now what we have is trust fund babies and these nepo maniacs who literally don't know anything because they were born into this elite society. And so the only thing they can do is flail their arms. And so naturally, they're calling it a danger to the world because two countries met with each other and made an agreement. How many agreements have we made? We haven't occupied Congress. And so this is really interesting to me because, I mean, this is, Russia and North Korea border each other, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I have a world map.
Do people not know this? If we look at a map, let's pull up a map.
I hear Destiny loves these things.
Yeah, but we're gonna pull one up that's labeled.
Let's go. Let's have fun with maps today. We had fun with maps another episode too, so let's keep going with the fun with maps.
Here we go. It's the worldatlas.com. This is trustworthy. Fact checked. This obviously, so this is Israel right here. This is Gaza.
Yeah.
So obviously, this is the West Bank down here, and then this is Lebanon.
You have to talk faster to sell that. You got to be like, this is West Bank.
But yeah, they have this tiny border here. But they're neighboring countries. That's not a normal. This is not like an abnormal thing to happen. I mean, of course, like it's coming with a round of like escalating tensions. But
what's a neighboring country to America? Canada. Do you not think our leaders meet regularly? They have to. They share a fucking border. They have to meet regularly. Their economies are interwoven.
Like, they literally depend on each other, yeah, with exports.
Yeah. Like, you gotta either fucking get along or try and take over one another. You can't just sit there and not talk to each other. You can, but it would be unbelievably not lucrative. And why wouldn't you do that? You're exchanging resources between each other. Like, it's the biggest no shit sandwich of all the no shit sandwiches.
So let's watch a little bit of the reaction from the White House.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Put military parade preparations going on in the Capitol. Grandstands are going up. You can see those sort of along the edge. Construction taking place in one of the main squares in the city as well. And this partnership, newly close, is cemented in one key thing: taking down the United States. Look no farther than what Russian state television is pushing tonight.
Billions of people would be happy to stand in line to get the opportunity to strike the United States.
Today, the weather is ideal for conducting nuclear strikes against NATO countries.
We only have one target, the continental territory of the U.S.
There's no nuance or ambiguity there. And state-controlled television in North Korea is saying the U.S. and other hostile forces are bound to meet unforeseen disaster. So you hear all that rhetoric, right? But that rhetoric is actually turned into video. We've seen nearly identical simulations of nuclear annihilation of the United States. Look for yourself what they've shown on Russia.
You were going to say something?
Sorry. Is there an easy way to get... Because I'm curious. That sounds like Yeomi Park level fucking... like hyperbolic. Is there an easy way?
No, this is some sickening wild shit. Like, this is like, they have to fearmonger. They have to be like, they want to destroy us all.
Is there some way? Because, okay, those videos were people speaking in Russian, I assume, and someone just talking over the Russian with English. Is there an easy way to just feed those videos into some kind of software? I'm going to look into this because
so the videos, I translate videos from Russian all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it with AI, and you do the voiceover too.
Because I'm not, I don't know.
I wouldn't necessarily doubt that. No. They probably said it, but like they're addressing Western hegemony as it exists. That doesn't mean that they're going to nuke the United States. Granted, we are a very aggressive nation, and I wouldn't blame them, to be honest with you. But
I'm just saying, I wouldn't put it past them if they literally, the whole play was just, this is a video in Russian, we're just going to talk hyperbolic shit over it and just feed it out there.
Well, it's clipped. I mean, it's, they share one piece of the context. So, I mean, of course.
Russian state media television is on the left. And on the right is what you see in North Korea. These are simulations of U.S. cities going up in a giant mushroom cloud of nuclear annihilation. Nuclear strikes taking out U.S. cities. It's grotesque.
How much of that is real, too? I have no idea.
And the Russian-North Korean military partnership is deepening now, beyond rhetoric and video to reality. Kim paid Putin a visit last year, touring several secretive space and military facilities, at one point toasting Putin and vowing to have him back in what he called Putin's, quote, sacred struggle against the band of evil in the West. And just 3 months ago, North Korea TV showed Kim and his daughter, they were back in Pyongyang, riding in a luxurious new limousine, a limo that was a gift from Putin. And on Russian state television now, they are fawning over Kim.
In the West, they are persistently calling him a dictator, but our attitude is different.
Kim Jong-un, the light of the nation.
And this relationship is now affecting the war in Ukraine. Just a short time ago, Putin spoke to a North Korean newspaper, so he's giving all this access to them, right? And he said, quote, "We highly appreciate the DPRK's strong support for the Russian special military operation in Ukraine." And Russia is relying on North Korea in Ukraine. Make no doubt about it. I mean, according to South Korea, North Korea sent 6,700 containers of equipment to Putin. Those could be filled with more than 3 million rounds of artillery shells, more than 500,000 rounds of multiple rocket launchers. There are also North Korean missiles being used. In return, the White House believes Putin may offer North Korea fighter jets, surface-to-air missiles, armored vehicles, and more. That has Washington growing increasingly concerned tonight.
What we are concerned about, Trevor, is the deepening relationship between these two countries. There could be some reciprocity here that could affect security on the Korean Peninsula.
Kayla Taushi is out front live outside the White House. I want to begin, though, with Will Ripley, live in Taiwan. And Will, another Kim Putin meeting now less than a year after the last one, right? And it had been several
live in Taiwan
before that. They appear to be growing much closer.
Because they need each other.
Don't care what this guy has to say.
You know what's really funny? everything American or Western in general corporate press fearmongers about other countries doing, they've done themselves. Like, every single time they're like, this is really scary because like they're gonna do X, Y, and Z. Just ask yourself a quick question: Are the countries saying this actually guilty of the things they're worried about? Because what they're really trying to communicate is that, hey, only we can fucking do this. These guys can't speak this kind of rhetoric. Only we can. And only we can bomb the fuck out of other countries and commit horrible atrocities upon other civilizations. That's us. Okay? You guys aren't allowed to do it. So we're going to brainwash these boomers and exactly 3.4 liberals under the age of 30 into believing that they're the bad guys. Because this is also a deflection. Because they don't want you thinking of all the atrocities they're committing. They're like, well, no, look over here. Look at what these guys are doing. These are the bad guys. It's the classic fear of the other. That's inherent in human nature. That's been exploited for thousands upon thousands of years. So.
It should be clear. I mean, from World War II history, why we're on the North Korean side, but I think it's important to know kind of how we've got our start involved in the Korean civil, whatever divide they have right now. This video is important. A lot of the people are still brainwashed about North Korea. I mean, they probably get that more fear about North Korea than Russia. They see like Kim is like this, like kind of like, I see him more like any other like leader of any other country, like the prime minister of like Albania, like even fucking Macron or some shit. They're all the same. They're all like autocratic leaders that behave basically the same, depending on the country. But just watch this video.
The history taught Americans is that North Korean forces attacked South Korea in 1950 and almost overran that new nation until the U.S. military came to the rescue. This is true, but does not explain that the United States government wanted a war. Major American industries had suffered with the loss of military business after the end of World War II, while wealthy Americans sought an excuse to expel the communists from China to recover their businesses. These groups conspired with the administration of President Harry Truman to lure North Korea to attack. American President Franklin D. Roosevelt assumed that China, under Chiang Kai-shek's leadership, would become a great allied power. After World War II ended, a Chinese civil war resumed, and by 1949, the communists had defeated the American-backed forces led by Chiang. See the short video link below for details. Who Lost China became a big political topic in the United States, and President Harry Truman was criticized by those who had demanded direct American military intervention. Corporate America lost billions of dollars invested in China, while the United States lost its key ally in Asia. U.S. military spending plummeted after World War II, and easy profits from government contracts disappeared. The communist threat was used to create and promote a U.S. national security document called the, quote, United States Objectives and Programs for National Security, known as NSC 68. This strategy called for tripling American military spending to contain communism, but had little support in Congress with war debts to repay.
To contain communism.
The Soviet Union had invaded Japanese-occupied Manchuria at the end of World War II and pushed into northern Korea. The United States agreed to a joint occupation of the Japanese colony of Korea with the 38th parallel designated as a temporary boundary. The Soviets supported popular Korean guerrilla leader Kim Il-sung, who formed a government in the north. He was a prominent leader of the resistance to Japanese occupation for 2 decades. Major industries owned by the Japanese were nationalized, and Japanese collaborators purged from official positions. This led to protests by wealthy Koreans who lost property and jobs. An American occupation force composed of 45,000 men arrived in September 1945 to occupy South Korea. Army Lieutenant General John Hodge was a good combat leader, but had no experience in civil administration. He disliked Koreans since many were deployed to support the Japanese army during the war. Hodges issued an order to his men to, quote, treat the Koreans as enemies, and allowed Koreans who served with the Japanese colonial government, army, and police force to remain on duty. Thousands of Koreans who resisted the Japanese occupation lived in the South and formed people's committees to run cities and towns before the Americans arrived. These were deemed communist by General Hodges and smashed by his police. The Americans flew Syngman Rhee from Washington, D.C., and anointed him as South Korea's leader, even though he had not lived in Korea for 40 years. He was a wealthy Christian, having earned a Ph.D. from Princeton, and was married to an American. South Koreans saw no change as the Japanese departed and were replaced by American rulers with the same colonial government and police force. A rebellion began as guerrillas took control of most towns and demanded land redistribution, a purge of Japanese collaborators from official positions, and a unified Korea. Unions organized strikes that led to economic turmoil. General Hodges was under pressure to send American troops home and hurried to create a South Korean army to help maintain order. By 1948, it comprised of 6 divisions led by officers who had served in the Japanese Imperial Army. The Rhee regime, with the support of the U.S. military, began a violent campaign of repression. By 1949, over 100,000 people had been killed and 100,000 political opponents imprisoned. Mass executions were common. Koreans in the North were angry about these events and the American effort to retain South Korea as a colony. Kim Il-sung deployed military forces to the border to show support for rebels in the South. American leaders showed no interest in Korea as they focused on countering communist movements in Western Europe. American troops had departed South Korea by 1948, but American military advisors remained, along with the American CIA. As tensions mounted, North Korea massed troops and tanks on the border. The CIA and military intelligence reported this threat to Washington. War may have been deterred if the United States had announced that it would intervene militarily to protect South Korea if necessary, but nothing was said. The United States sent no additional military equipment to South Korea and made no promises to defend it. On January 12, 1950, Secretary of State Dean Acheson told the press that, quote, Korea was now outside the American sphere of influence. The South Korean commander of troops along the 38th parallel in 1949 was Kim Sok-won. He graduated from Japan's Imperial Army Academy in 1915 and rose to the grade of colonel by 1945. He had chased after Kim Il-sung and other Korean guerrillas in Manchuria in the 1930s. Kim Sok-won had been decorated by Japan's Emperor Hirohito for leading campaigns against Korean guerrillas. As border fights intensified in 1949, the top U.S. commander in Korea told his superiors that South Korean military forces had started the majority of fighting along the 38th parallel. See the link below for details. The American CIA secretly encouraged these attacks. On June 25, 1950, South Korean troops attacked northward, capturing the city of Haeju, a mile north of the 38th parallel. North Korean forces along the border included 70 tanks, something the Americans surely detected with their observation aircraft. Kim Il-sung knew that Rhee had little public support and gambled that the South Korean army would collapse if his army invaded. North Korean soldiers crossed the border on June 25th, and by June 28th, they were in Seoul, just 35 miles away. The South Korean army crumbled as most soldiers deserted. North Korean forces marched southward unopposed and could have secured all of Korea within a week. Korea would be united with little bloodshed as South Korea was freed from decades of colonial rule. This did not occur. President Harry Truman authorized General Douglas MacArthur to rush American combat forces from Japan. He did not seek a formal declaration of war from Congress by stating this was no more than a police action. Yet military spending tripled and conscription resumed. Many government officials were elated by the
Do you see how even presidents, like more than 50 years ago, they also, without any congressional approval, just started wars all over the place.
Break of the Korean War.
Little breakouts.
Secretary of State Dean Acheson was a former Wall Street and DuPont Company lawyer, pictured here with Truman. He told colleagues that, quote, the Korean War came along and saved us. According to I.F. Stone's book, Hidden History of the Korean War, first published in 1952, the United States deliberately incited the North to attack that led to a 3-year war that left every Korean city destroyed, 7 million refugees, 2 million Koreans dead, and cost the lives of 36,000 American soldiers.
Don't you love this country? By the way, South Korea, one of the highest suicide rates in the world. Actually, the number one country on top of the list of the global suicide rates, South Korea.
Okay, but that's only because all the other countries. This is what drives me insane about statistics for any country that, like, you're trying to say has some issues. The cope from people is just like, well, that's because the other countries are making up their statistics or, like, lying or hiding their statistics. And it's like, should we not trust statistics at all then? Is that your play here? What's your play? Because, like, there's nothing stopping other nations from also lying about or hiding their statistics. It's like this. This weird, like, 10-year-old cope. But yeah, that is objectively correct. It has an incredibly high suicide rate.
We can move on to bird flu. I think. But you could see, I mean, from just like that little snippet of history, the situation has been encouraged and started since the beginning due to our actions. I just want to show
yeah.
I'm pretty sure this is copyright free. But they rode in a luxury car today, by the way. Or this was yesterday. But this is over. Western hegemony is over. It's done. The game is done. The jig is up. It's done.
Yep. And there's really just one of two ways this can go. You know, they can just kind of grab their billions and say we had a good run and kind of slink away before it gets too bad for them.
That's what they're going to end up doing. Or they can fly to Mars.
They can flip the table over too. They can go, you know what? If we
We're
can have this
just going to take everyone down with us. You think?
Yeah. If we can have this world, nobody can. That is a classic trope of narcissists and psychopaths.
That's a Samson option in Israel. That's their nuclear policy.
It's literally, if I can't win, nobody can win. But yeah, play this. I fucking love this shit. This is so good.
They see me rolling, they hating, patrolling and trying to catch me riding dirty, 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 trying to catch me riding dirty. My music's so loud, I'm swinging, they hoping that they gon' catch me riding dirty, trying to catch me riding dirty, trying to catch me riding dirty, trying to catch me riding, trying to catch me riding dirty. They can see me lean, I'm tight, so it ain't easy to be seen. When me see me ride by, they can see me gleam. And I shine on the deck in the TV screen. And ride with a new chick, she like cola. Next to the PlayStation controller. It's a full clip and my pistola. Send a jacker into a coma. Girl, you ain't on crazy like crazy bone. Just tryna bone, ain't tryna have no babies. Ride clean as hell, so I pull in ladies. Laws on patrol, and you know they hate me. Music turn all the way up into the maximum. I got speakers, some niggas try to jack for some, but we packing something that we have for we have a nigga locked up in the maximum security cell. I'm gripping old music loud and I'm tipping slow. I'm steady twisting like get this dough. These pull up right behind in the city.
Oh yeah. By the way, so they gave Kim Jong-un gave Putin 2 dogs as a gift. Look at these cuties.
That's actually adorable.
So these are a rare Korean, like they're called like Ponsang or something, but it's a rare Korean breed that he just gifted them. He just gifted him 2 dogs.
That's a nice gift.
That's cute.
Packing something that we have for we have a nigga locked up in the maximum security cell. I'm gripping music loud and I'm tipping slow. Steady twisting like get this dough. Please pull up right behind and it's in his throat. Windows down, gotta stop pollution. City change niggas like who is that producing? Just the playing skills when we out in cruising. Got warrants in every city except Houston, but I still ain't losing. See me rolling, they hating, patrolling and trying to catch me riding dirty, 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 trying to catch me riding dirty. My music so loud, I'm swinging. They open it, they gon' catch me riding dirty, trying to catch me riding dirty, trying to catch me riding dirty, trying to catch me riding, trying to catch me riding dirty.
Dude, they're almost running off the cross line. You see that?
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, this fucking
Dude, you gotta be
slaps.
careful, man. Look at dude, what did they drive, dude, bro? I know it's so based. It's like when they hear like it's like when Iran and like the Houthis chant like "Death to America." I'm like, fucking hell yeah, man. Fucking burn. I mean, I'm a dual citizen, so I can just get out. You're from Canada, so I mean, like, I think maybe we personally don't have like huge attachment, but I know there's people who are kind of stuck here.
I mean, listen, but
I think we all kind of have to face the reality that, like, and Due Distance kind of talks about this too. Like, there is no I mean, I do want to say that there is no political solution to this. It has to fall. I mean, and Lenin talks about it has to crash and burn before it's gonna get any better. And a lot of us have to come and like face the reality of, because this is going to affect Europe too, and I'm European citizen. So either way, both the Western hegemony. I don't know how this affects Europe and whatever countries or whatever the ways they decide to deal with it. That's why we're anarcho-Brexists.
Yes,
because this is well, we've been operating on agenda of pure evil, terror, and violence. But yeah,
exactly.
Can you see how he's not even driving? Putin, what are you doing, man? He's not. He can't stay on the fucking right lane. What's going on?
Do you think maybe he's just like flexing? I don't know.
It could be.
That's
this is a luxury car, like a luxury Korean car. I mean, yeah. You want to move on to bird flu?
Let's move on to bird flu. So, a lot of you may have heard rumblings of bird flu. Heard some rumblings about the bird flu going around. You've probably heard some scary things a lot, such as the fatality rate being like 50%, and oh my god, and it's scary. And I just want to present a bit of a. Let's move on.
I remember swine flu. It's always a different. It's just a giant smorgasbord of animals that they put together.
Well, there were some interesting narratives lately about bird flu, and I just want to present them, and I want to point out what the focus is, and I just want everybody to maybe think about this a little differently and draw their own conclusions, because obviously there's an obvious reason why bird flu causes so much anxiety. First off, we just went through a pandemic, which I think we can all safely say now was handled like shit. We were given a lot of bad information. We didn't handle it very well at all. And frankly, the policies, whether you agree with them or not, it's inarguable that they caused a lot of damage. Nobody liked lockdowns. Nobody liked, I know more people than I can count who lost their jobs, lost their whole careers, lost their businesses. It was an objectively like, let's not do that again sort of shit.
I know a teacher in New York who lost his job because he didn't want to take the vax.
Yeah. So when you hear bird flu, you think, oh, fuck. We just got back to normal goddamn life. Are they going to fucking do this again? Like, that's coming through everybody's heads. And even if you're, like a gigabajillion jabbed COVIDian, like I just wear a full suit of masks when I go outside. I've got a picture of Dr. Fauci on every article of clothing I own, even if you're one of those fucking crazy.
When do you think they're going to come out with dog flu?
Dog flu?
That'd be tragic because I need that. Everyone has a loved dog that they love and cherish. I have a dog that I love and cherish, and I would.
My dog's my best boy.
I feel like that's the target. Like I feel like now if they target people, I don't want to give any CIA agents any ideas. But
the ones watching you.
If you make a dog flu or a cat flu, then you target people's loved ones. And trust me, people love pets more than they love other humans.
People love pets more than grandma.
That'll scare the pajamas off of people for sure.
All that you're killing grandma shit. Well, you know what, Fido. You say, hey, you're killing Fido. People will
Before you could have said, oh yeah, they're old. They were gonna die anyway. Not anymore. Now it's your pets, motherfucker.
Bro, I'd probably die for my dog. I'm not even kidding.
I would die.
I love him that much. I love him that much.
I would die for my dog.
Because I wouldn't want to live in a world without him. And the hardest thing about being a dog owner is realizing that one day you're going to have to say goodbye. I can't get into this. I'm going to cry. Anyway. Do you want to bring it up or should I? I'm a little worried about playing the videos. Okay.
I can play the videos.
Okay. So just the first one.
Send me the links for the videos, and then you share the.
Okay, I'll share the article because I feel like the article is important. But yeah, I'll just share it here. This is from a Twitter account I'm not super familiar with.
I'll share this.
Yeah.
In place this morning to try and stop the spread of bird flu. The Department of Primary Industries incident response team arriving at the farm in Freeman's Reach to begin their work. The strain found on the farm is separate to what has been detected on 7 farms in Victoria's southwest, forcing more than 1 million chickens to be put down. But between 50 to 100,000 chickens will be put down on the farm in Sydney's northwest due to the detection of bird flu. Professor Michael Ward has told Today that this is a unique situation.
It's actually something we haven't seen before, this many different viruses hitting this many farms.
New South Wales Police also arriving here at the scene this morning. An officer walking in with paperwork. This exclusion zone is in place. Anyone coming and going is washing off their shoes and wheels are being washed down before vehicles leave the farm. An exclusion zone of more than...
Okay. So... I'd just like to make a bit of a disclaimer before I get into this. I'm presenting this. I assume most people who are watching identify with some kind of left-leaning ideology, be it anarchism, Marxism, leftism, socialism, whatever. The reason why I'm presenting this is because you're not going to get these kind of takes from the left. You're only going to get it from the conservative. You have to stay in the capitalist lane pipeline. Okay, so I'm trying to get this out to people outside of the bubble, because I noticed a lot of people during COVID, even prominent socialist motherfuckers, anarchists, they didn't talk a lot about the other side of COVID. They kind of just focused on let's face it, the same narratives that came out of mainstream media. And if you think that's weird, you should. So I just want to present an alternative take here, and I'm going to let you guys make up your mind. I'm not going to tell you what to believe. I'm not going to tell you what to think. We're just going to go through this, and then I'm going to go through an article, and you guys will arrive at your own conclusions. Greg, I just sent you the... Yep, go for that. And bear in mind, before we play this is Fox News.
So, how is that spreading if it's not from the cattle, which to me...
Sorry, my bad.
It's okay. I was going to say, like, do we talk now or what the fuck?
No, let's put it. I'm dealing with like 3 monitors right now, so just my bad. Start from the beginning.
So, how is that spreading if it's not from the cattle, which to me, there might be a human component to this? Are the farm workers that move between the herds spreading this? It's very concerning. And so I think one of the things we have to look at, what Finland's doing, which I mentioned last week, is to vaccinate the high-risk farm workers. We already have H5N1 vaccine stockpiled in this country specifically for this reason.
Okay.
We need to use it. We need to nip this in the bud before the virus gets used to transmitting between humans and becoming very good at it. That's not what we want.
We mentioned 12 states. California, though, doesn't have
California
anything
does not,
yet.
no. Not
Okay,
yet.
okay. Well,
so,
okay.
It's gonna be killer for farm life. But
that's what I want you to think about. Okay? So next what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen here. Right here. And I'm going to speed run this, if only because I
want to ask the chat, how many people do you see in real life these days in 2024 in the summer do you see still wearing masks? Because
yeah, that's
I can
actually
tell you in New York, they're still wearing masks. There's like at least like, I don't know, like a group of like 1 out of 10 people will be wearing a mask still. That's how bad it is. At least like on the subways and stuff.
I'm going to be honest. I don't live in a city. I don't see it a lot in Toronto though. And that was our big like liberal haven city. I don't see it when I come to Toronto a lot. Around these parts, which is about, kind of more in the cottage area. I don't see a single fucking one. Nobody does this shit. Nobody cares. Yeah, that's a very good question to ask. Okay, let's get into this. I'm going to go ahead and share this. Here we go. Here we fucking go. Okay.
I like that.
Bear with me.
You could zoom in too, maybe a little bit.
Okay. Does it? Can you just tell me real quick? Does it show me scrolling?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So this is an article from Harvard Health Publishing. It was published on June 4th, so this month earlier. A bird flu primer: what to know and do. 9 questions and answers on the global outbreak. A bird flu strain that began circulating in 2020 continues to evolve globally and locally within the United States. If you're wondering what this means, understanding the basics, what bird flu is, how it spreads, whether foods are safe, and prevention tips can help. More information will come as scientists learn more, so stay tuned. 1. What is bird flu and how does it spread? Bird flu, or avian flu, is a naturally occurring illness. Just as certain I just fucked my words up. Just as certain flu viruses spread among humans, type A influenza viruses often spread among wild birds. The strain of virus circulating now is H5N1, named for 2 proteins on its surface. Avian flu infections are highly contagious. Infection often spreads first among wild water birds, such as ducks, geese, and gulls, and shorebirds, such as plovers and sandpipers. The viruses are carried in their intestines and respiratory tract and shed in mucus, saliva, and feces. Wild birds can easily infect domestic poultry, such as chickens, turkeys, and ducks. Some bird species, including ducks, may carry and spread infection without appearing sick. Domestic flocks are more likely to sicken and probably die from bird flus. However, not all avian bird flus are equally harmful. Gives a bit of detail on the two different ones. Basically, not harmful and harmful as fuck. 2.
Swine flu
humans
was the
get
same way. Do you understand? Do you? Is there a reason, like any particular reason, like why it's like we always have to switch? There was a monkeypox too. It's always a random animal or some kind of like livestock. But
You
why?
mean like the animals? I don't know, Greg.
No,
You
but
mean
like I mean,
all
no,
of
it's
the
like,
all of the animals that were. Do you mean all the animals that were constantly testing gain of function research on? That might be a thing.
yeah, I mean, or the puppies, the Fauci puppies. I don't want to think about that. But
Dog flu might come next.
Does anyone else like notice like this is like a pattern they've been doing kind of for years? Like so, like they were talking about swine flu back before COVID, during the Obama era, and I just remember every single year it was just like there was always like around like March to April they were always pumping something out about like, oh, there's like a new virus or something, got to get your vet. And I always, I know now that it's like big pharma. It's like basically like a big pharma ad run for like a couple of months. But they have a season where they just come up with the virus, and that's like the new thing. I feel like COVID was kind of like the one time where they like kind of took it really far and they locked down the whole world for 2 years over it, and it turned out to be a cold. But I mean,
yeah. So the thing is, like, we don't really understand the truth behind any of this, but essentially what happens is animals develop viruses, and then they get scary when they start being able to move from one species to another, or if it affects a species that we depend on, because we do live in an ecosystem. So, you might have seen a lot of fear-mongering on H5N1, I think. I always fuck up numbers. Over like, oh, bird flu, it's gonna kill us all. I've seen a lot of accounts on the Bird app, like, pushing the same, like, COVID fear, like, be afraid, whatever. Can humans get bird flu? Yes, though this doesn't usually happen. When flu viruses mutate, they may be able to move from the original hosts, birds in this case, to humans and other animals. As of early April 2024, only 2 cases of bird flu in humans had been reported in the US since 2022. In May, 2 more cases were reported. New case numbers of bird flu will continue to be reported by the CDC, which offers weekly snapshots of influenza in the US. The virus may be introduced into the body through the eyes, nose, or mouth. For example, a person may inhale viral particles in the air, droplets, tiny aerosolized particles, or possibly in dust, or they might touch a surface contaminated by the virus and touch their eyes or nose. Bird flu in humans typically causes symptoms similar to seasonal flu, such as fever, runny nose, and body aches. Which animals have been affected by bird flu? A surprisingly long number of animals affected by the current H5N1 bird flu infection includes wild birds, chickens, ducks, geese, and other domestic and commercial poultry in 48 states and more than 500 countries. Livestock, such as dairy cows in 9 states at this writing and other farm animals. Marine animals, wild animals. Why are experts concerned about this bird flu outbreak? It might seem odd that there's so much concern and news coverage about the bird flu lately. After all, bird flu has been around for many years. We've long known it sometimes infects non-bird animal species, including humans. But the current outbreak is unique and worrisome for several reasons. Far spreading reach. The virus has been found through U.S., so I'm going to speed through this. Many species have been infected. Previously uninfected species have been affected, including animals in our food supply. Economic impact. If large numbers of beef and dairy cows and chickens sicken or must be killed to contain outbreaks, this could have a major economic impact on farmers, agricultural businesses, and affected countries' economies. This could also mean higher prices at the grocery store. And potential for fatalities Compared to COVID, nearly only 900 people in 23 countries have died from this since 2003. Next question, are milk, beef, chicken, and the rest of our food supply safe? They emphasize that the food supply is safe, but they're concerned. Bird flu DNA, which is not the same as live virus, is in 20% of commercially available milk in the US. And now there's just precautions. There's some hopium rather. Is there any good news about bird flu? Some birds are developing immunity. Developing a vaccine to protect cattle from bird flu might be possible. Oh, and there's antiviral medicines. Human-to-human transmission hasn't been detected. So they're announcing that people aren't spreading this to other people. So they're saying at the end of the day, it's not time to panic about bird flu. So, but I just want to ask everybody. Let's look at the chat and see if people have already clued into this. Because I think our chat's pretty fucking smart. They've probably already bought what I'm selling. Mainly in birds, not humans. An excuse to drive up protein costs, bad cookies. Okay. So people in the chat are kind of getting it. Let me ask this more directly just so I kind of make my point across. Greg, I'll ask you this specifically. In those clips and in that article specifically, what do you think the main focus was? Was it how this affects people? Or was it how this affects our food supply?
Sounds like it's happening at farms.
Yeah. So
that's where we got into the whole puppy argument. Next, they're going to come for your puppies. They're going to come for your puppies and your cats. Your puppies and your kitties.
So a lot of the...
They could do that. They could manufacture a virus that's targeted for your pets. I really hope they don't do that.
I don't think they will, because I think it's far more effective to have some kind of virus going after the direct food supply. So, again, this doesn't get talked about a lot on the left, because this is more of like a right wing or whatever talking point. And I think that's deliberate, because I think the right exists as a mechanism to kind of, a lot of the time they can say things that are nefarious, and it doesn't fucking matter, because people agree with that, and then they get pulled over to the right, and then they're never threatening the capital that's causing these problems. It's a little ingenious if you think about it. That's just my theory. But I digress. The whole thing surrounding this bird flu is focusing on our food supply, specifically meat. Now, I don't know about you, but I've studied the World Economic Forum pretty well, and they don't seem too fond of cattle or poultry or anything other than a grilled cricket sandwich. And I'm not saying either that the bird flu is like automatically some conspiracy theory. I'm not saying they made it up. Could be an organic virus, right? But if there's one thing you need to understand about conspiracies or whatever have you, is it doesn't have to be something they plan. It could just be something that happens and they take advantage of it. That's what I fully believe happened with COVID. I don't think they wanted that virus to get out of the lab. I don't think that was the plan. But they capitalized on it, because that's what capitalists do. They capitalize. With this bird flu thing, the main focus seems to be, we got to sell those jabs, because, of course, we always got to sell the jabs, right? And, bird flu, we just got to do away with all these animals. Because they're already doing it. They're already culling the meat food supply. They're already culling the meat food supply and probably dairy as well to combat this. And they're manufacturing consent with all this fear mongering. So here's just my hypothesis. Again, this is just a hypothesis. I think this whole fear mongering for the beard flu. It's a beard flu.
No, we can't have that.
The beard flu.
No.
Oh, we're both fucked. If there's a beard flu.
I'm not shaving. No, I'm not shaving. I'd rather die.
No, I would rather die too, because if I shave, I look like I'm about to go to prom. That's not happening. Okay, I'm too baby faced. I can't fucking do it.
We can't do that.
We will look like 4-year-old human beings. I can already tell you could too. If you shave, you'll probably look as young as I fucking do.
Yeah, now with this haircut, I can't.
Yeah, no, we're both back in high school the second we shave, so no beard flu. But the thing with the bird flu, I think all this fear mongering is starting. My theory, at least, this might be starting to manufacture consent for a drastic change in the food supply. I know there's a lot of worry over, like, they're going to hit our food supply. They're going to starve us out. There's going to be a famine, blah, blah, blah. I'm not sure if that's the case. I think what they more want to do is they might just use the bird flu to get you onto bugs. We've all done the meme. We've all laughed about it. You will eat the bugs.
All right. Do you want to move on to Trump, or do you want to move on to not Trump? Do you want to move on anti-Israel conservatives or Biden next? Biden will be the most fun.
Let's save the most fun for last. Let's move on to Trump, because I love that guy. I can't wait to.
No, it's not Trump. It's not Trump. Anti-Israel.
Okay, it's not Trump.
Well, I mean, but they're conservatives. You know, we can shit on conservatives or Biden. Pick one.
But conservatives are Biden. I'm confused.
Oh yeah, that's I mean,
let's go for Biden.
We're going. Okay.
Let's see what corpse
I mean, you might have heard earlier this week there was a lot of concerns about the current sitting president's cottage cheese brain of him, because there's videos that are coming out on the daily basis now of him just having to be guided from Obama and the Juneteenth celebration. We might show a little bit of that, but there's been some concerns among the community, and the press has a rightful, reason to ask, and so they did yesterday.
They physically put hands on the president to guide him and show him, give stage directions. Are they doing that on their own, or has anybody asked them to run the show like that?
First of all, let me spoke to the most recent, right? And as we saw on Saturday, President Obama's office put out a statement. So I would refer you to that statement about what was being accused in those by others. And he said this did not happen in the sense of what people were saying they were seeing, right? Or what was being falsely reported that they were seeing. Let's not forget, President Obama, President Biden have a relationship. They are friends. They're like family to each other. And I think that's what you saw. You saw the president put his hand on the back of President Biden, and they walked off the stage after taking questions or at an event taking questions from Jimmy Kimmel. That is what you saw. But I would refer you to President Obama's office statement. They talked about this, they discussed this, and they came out with it pretty quickly.
Maloney,
all right.
You wanted to say something about
Maloney.
This is what fear looks like. This is what pure panic looks like.
Yeah, you can.
When you're making up shit like this.
Maloney, I don't have anything. I don't know specifically what happened with Maloney.
The wandering, the parachutist.
Oh, I mean, look, that was, as I said, it was a cheap a cheap fake. That was definitely a cheap fake. It was. This was widely fact-checked. That video was widely.
How do you what we have the raw footage from mainstream media that are publishing this. It's all fake.
Sorry,
and I think
how
she
do
means like deep fakes. Why is she saying cheap takes? That's such a boomer thing to say.
I think maybe, I don't know, maybe like, I don't know what she's reading from, but my
She's answering a press's question, so it's like kind of like on the spot. But
I'm wondering if it's like an autocorrect fail or something, because like I don't understand why else she'd be saying like cheap fakes. Is that like
what does that mean?
Is this an
What's a
advanced
cheap?
psyop?
Have you heard that? Have you heard anyone say the term cheap fakes?
Is this like the difference between
Like
misinformation and malinformation, where it's like it's not quite a deep fake, it's a cheap, like
a cheap
I don't know.
fake? So they can't call it a deep fake because we know it's not AI, or it's not. We know it's not like an edited video. We have raw footage. It's a cheap fake, and their argument is because their entire argument is basically, the camera was too zoomed in on Biden. Like you have to zoom out for the full context. That's their whole. That's what a cheap fake is.
Fact checked, including by conservative.
That's how they fact check
media on what happened.
Also, I'm sorry.
What occurred.
I'm sorry. How do these people, like the Lion, the Witch, and the audacity of this bitch, fucking, how is anybody doing this has been fact check shit after the last like 5 years, where it's like independent fact. Have you guys ever been? I know you guys have been to one of those like fact check websites where they're like, this has been determined to be false. And then the conclusion is like, well, while it was technically true, it actually, like, this minute detail was off, therefore it was false. Like, nobody should be falling for the fact check shit anymore, okay? All fact checks do, 90% of the ones I've seen at least, they admit the shit's right, but they nitpick one detail that could be misinterpreted. And that's the fact check. It's a joke. The fact that these people are still like, that's been fact checked, so it's like the experts have determined it was false. Lady, everybody knows how much you fuckers have lied over the last whoever knows how long.
No, they're
everybody
failing.
knows that.
This is failing.
The president walked over to give a thumbs up to divers who had just landed right in front of him, and if you run that tape a little bit longer, you would see what was happening, what the president was actually doing, and it is a cheap fake.
So that is what nothing, and he's totally normal.
What I'm saying is, this is a president, right? Let's step back for a second. Instead of, and I said this moments ago, instead of Republicans, focusing on the president's performance in office and what he's been able to accomplish, his actual record, they do these cheap fakes. They are cheap fakes. And you're asking me about the Maloney, you're asking me what happened. That video was, okay, let's talk about Juneteenth. The president stood there listening to the music and he didn't dance. Excuse me, I did not know not dancing was a health issue. That is a weird thing to actually flag when if you look at the people who are around him, you look at the expanded video of the people who were around him, they were not there were some folks who were not dancing either, and that has been fact checked. I mean, just because you're standing up listening to music and not dancing, that is not a health issue. That is just not a health issue.
Majorities of American voters who are telling pollsters repeatedly for years now that they have serious concerns about this president's cognitive fitness are being misled by cheap fake videos? Is that
I'm
what you're
saying that
us?
there have been, in recent weeks, there have been cheap fakes videos that have been fact-checked. They've been fact-checked by conservative media as well, to say that these videos are false. They're purposefully being altered.
So he's fine.
Look,
He's fine.
the president has done more in his 3.5 years as president than most modern day president. And what he's been able to deliver. He's able to do that because he knows what he's doing. He knows how to deliver for the American people. He's able to make sure that we attack the climate crisis with the Inflation Reduction Act. He's made sure that we're...
How do you tackle climate change with inflation? What the fuck is happening? This is what I'm saying. They're flailing. This is a fear-based response.
This administration is in panic mode. You know what this is? I feel like most of us kind of know what this is. This is when you're at work and someone fucks up really bad. I'm sure I've gone through this before multiple times. I'm sure some of you have as well. Someone at work fucks up really bad, and it starts a chain of events where everybody is scrambling to essentially save face because everybody's freaking out. That's the Biden administration right now. She's probably fucking scared out of her mind on the inside. She probably already shit her pants worse than Biden did. She's up there and she is just like, please God, just let this end so I can drink some more baby blood or whatever she does on her off hours. I'm not sure. But yeah. This is the classic example of like, oh no, this is a big fuck up and we need some way to like not just be like, we need some way to spin this or pitch it away from reality, because to actually
by the way,
accept the reality is going to be mortifying.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that, but like, by the way, just June 14th. This actually happened. On June 14th, they had a proclamation with no irony whatsoever. They declare World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, and this is insane shit that they're like. That some of it's on purpose. I'm pretty sure the circus is all purposely done for
rash of videos that have been edited to make the president appear especially frail or mentally confused. I'm wondering if the White House is especially worried about the fact that this seems to be a pattern that we're seeing more often.
Yeah, and I think you all have called this the cheap fakes video, and that's exactly what they are. They are cheap fakes video. They are done in bad faith, and some of your news organization have been very clear, have stressed that these the right wing critics of the president have a credibility problem because of the fact checkers have repeatedly caught them pushing misinformation, disinformation, and so we see this, and this is something coming from your part of the world, calling them cheap fakes and misinformation. And I'll quote the Washington Post, what they wrote. They wrote about this, and they said how Republicans use misleading videos to attack Biden in a 24-hour period. And to their credit, we have a conservative Washington Examiner did call them out as well, calling out the New York Post. Ironically, several recent cheap fakes actually attacked the president for thanking troops. That is what they're attacking the president for. Both in Normandy this happened, and again in Italy. And I think that it tells you everything that we need to know about how desperate Republicans are here. And instead of talking about the president's performance in office, and what I mean by that is his legislative wins, what he's been able to do for the American people across the country, we're seeing these deep fakes. These manipulated videos,
Okay.
and it is again done in bad faith.
Oh my God!
So she's called she calls it a deep fake once. Okay, that was the first time I've heard her say that. That's towards the end, but it doesn't get any worse.
It just like
okay. Let's talk about Juneteenth. The president stood there listening to the music, and he didn't dance. Excuse me, I did not know not dancing was a health issue. That is a weird thing to actually flag when if you look at the people who are around him, you look at the expanded video of the people who are around him.
The expanded video. We need to expand the video in order to get the truth.
What more information is going to negate what you're fucking seeing?
This man is
Literally,
frozen. Do you know how many frames this is? He stays in
Stood
one
there
spot.
listening to the music, and he didn't dance. Excuse me, I did not know not dancing was a.
This is slowed down.
He looks like a video
He's
game
literally
NPC.
a fucking statue. He's a fucking statue.
He looks like a video game NPC when like the script breaks. This could be a Bethesda.
Okay, let's talk about Juneteenth.
Just look at this man. Just look at this man happening right here.
Okay, let's talk about Juneteenth. The president stood there listening to the music, and he didn't dance. Excuse me, I did not know not dancing was a health issue. That is a weird thing to actually flag when if you look at the people who are around him, you look at the expanded video of the people who were around him, they were not there were some folks who were not dancing either, and that has
maybe like that guy, but at least he's like making gestures that I don't know. This guy's staring at something in the distance.
At least he's making like normal human like gestures. He's not looking.
Has been found.
Like
his hand is sitting there like
robot.
this, dude. Like his hand is just frozen. Like what is happening?
I checked.
This is really concerning. But I mean, this goes to show that like the president is in control of the country.
Just because you're standing up listening to music and not dancing, that is not a health issue. That is just not a health issue. Okay, let's talk about Juneteenth. The president stood there listening to the music, and he didn't dance. Excuse me, I did not know not dancing was a health issue. That is a weird thing to actually flag when if you.
Bad cookies. He looks like a He looks like a Resident Evil character ready to say, "What are you buying?" That's pretty funny.
I think you're right.
Let's hear the misinformation.
I think there is so much misinformation, disinformation, as we've been talking about. You talked about the video of the president wandering, and it's not true, right? The president wasn't wandering. He was talking to a parachuter that was right in front of him, and what you saw is the Republican Party really manipulating what was being said and what was being seen by the American people. It's also very insulting to the folks the viewers who are watching it. And so we believe we have to call that out. We've been calling it cheap fakes. That is something that came directly from the media outlets and calling it that, the fact checkers and calling it that. And so we're certainly going to be really clear about that as well. And I think you're right. I think there is so much misinformation, disinformation, as we've been
Can she at least keep the term consistent? Like, why is she calling it cheap fakes and then deep fakes?
And then it's not just misinformation, but there's also disinformation. There's both.
Like you need to keep it. You need we're stupid. Like Americans can't understand.
It's just panicking. She's just puking out as many. Here's how down bad the establishment is. They just Canada does this too. Whenever true. Yeah, here's how down bad the establishment is. And Canada does this too. Other countries do this too. Whenever one of these fuckers are confronted, whenever one of their mouthpieces are confronted, they'll just start puking out as many buzzwords and as many outgroup label words as they can to just deflect. They don't want to ever address the fucking issue. You could easily just say, yeah, Biden has, or I don't know, just own it. Just be like, look, he's an older man, okay? They could go the direct honest route you can look up. He's an older man who's previously had brain surgery. Sometimes he gets a little confused, okay? But and then do the look at his record shit, right? But at some point you have to own this. Otherwise you're going to lose fucking everybody. And my theory is that the reason why they're not owning this, and the reason why the corporate press is showing you this. Because don't forget, at the end of the day, they could just not show any of this. They're showing it. They're talking about it. They're presenting this to a group of people. I want you guys to get that in your heads a little bit. At the end of the day, the main corporate outlets of media, they're the ones putting this into your radar. So my personal theory, little tinfoil, but I don't care. I like being tinfoil. Makes me feel warm inside. My personal tinfoil is that the ruling class has determined, as I've said before, that Trump's going to be their guy for the next arc of the decline of American empire. And that's why normal people are seeing videos of a man that's clearly gone. Because if they
Here
really
we
didn't
had
want
CBS
to see
News.
it,
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, is it something with it? I can't load any Daily Mail articles at all because of the ads, and then you can't read it without the ad blocker on. I have no idea how to bypass that.
I feel like news companies essentially just fuck themselves over with that, because like enough people are just not going to your site to like look at anything. So it's like even if they do have an ad blocker on, you're just kind of like isolating yourself.
Okay, I'm on 12.
Okay, so here's a tip for that. This is what I do with ad blockers. Just personally what I do, we almost all have multiple like browsers installed, right? Like even if it's Edge, I know AIDS full blown. You're gonna get AIDS if you open this.
I have a solution anyway.
Yeah,
we're running out of time a little bit.
If you have an ad block, if you have like ad block on your main browser that you use for all your shit, with any ad block like annoying websites, just load up your second browser, just paste the link in, and just check it out on there. That's what I do. And then I close it and I go back to my main shit. Whenever you get that annoying stuff on sites. But yeah, let's keep going.
Yeah, no, so 12foot.com, no, what is it? 12foot.io, you just type in any news article and you get past the ads. And you get past the paywall. So here we had CBS News that confirmed that the cheap fakes going viral of the president clearly losing it are cheap fakes.
Cheap fake clips went viral on social media and were picked up by some news outlets.
Now watch it. Digitally altered media with the raw footage right next to it.
Take a look at this clip, for example. It shows Biden and other world leaders watching a skydiving demonstration before the president is seen walking away and looking in another direction. Outlets claimed that he was sort of just aimlessly wandering away. The clip amassed millions of views within just a few hours, when actually if you widen out, you can see that he was talking to one of the members of the military that was participating in that demonstration. Cheap fake clip.
Dude, you're in front of press too.
Yeah, like
why would you do that?
I don't fucking get it.
So anyway, what exactly do the Democrats plan to do with this unfolding disaster? Who knows? Is Biden even going to run? I mean, it's going to be like we already heard those theories of like swapping out with like someone last minute. I think everyone's greatest fear is probably this.
No, please, anything. If we finally get the lich, it's over. We're all dead. We're all gonna die.
What does everyone
gonna
think?
get it?
I want everyone's opinions because the Daily Mail published this 2 days ago. Exclusive. The secret Democrat plot to replace Biden revealed. how Clinton, Obama, Pelosi, and Schumer would topple the Asian president. So nearly every time President Joe Biden appears in public these days, he fuels the chatter. Will he bow out at the 2024 race? We saw the Barack Obama incident, the Juneteenth incident, the George Floyd incident, the White House. The Andrew Bates calls it a cheap. They're continuing to call it cheap fakes for getting gaslit by the media. But it seems no matter how much cold water the Biden campaign or Democratic Party throws on this raging fire of speculation, America will not be put off by the great Joe Biden replacement theory. It's the idea that somehow, some way, the president will be swapped out as the Democratic Party's candidate ahead of the 2024 election. Let me switch this here. Dropping out would be a big risk, but there's some threshold below which running is a bigger risk. Nate Silver wrote in his social media last week, "Are you there yet? I don't know, but it's fair that."
Wait, look at what's that picture? Go up a bit. Further. Yeah. Oh my god. Bro.
Dude, he's gone. He's gone.
He's
gone. He's a wet potato. He's a moldy
Good job, America. You elected a human 404 error. You elected a fucking missed curly boy in Visual Basic. You elected. We
don't know if he's running again.
Instead of the mean guy with the mean tweets, who's also a 404 error, but he's like an aggressive 404 error, you elected. Okay? You elected.
I didn't vote.
Computer.
I didn't do it. Well, I voted.
You elected a computer that just deleted System 32 from the Windows folder. Good job.
So Silver, the founder of 538, noted that Biden's average approval rating is low of 37%, which is the lowest in decades. The lowest in decades. Dude, he's done. And chief among the voter concerns is Biden's age, which Silver concluded to be an extremely understandable concern. Atlantic columnist Mark Bruley stamped the President Ruth Bader Biden earlier this month. That's a reference to the late Supreme Court Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who died during the Donald Trump term. And then James Carville, the political mastermind behind Bill Clinton's campaigns, flat out last month that Biden should not have run for re-election. Now, a last-ditch effort by Biden's backers to silence critics inside the party may be proving the ultimate undoing. According to Democratic bigwig, Obama campaign guru David Axelrod, the Biden team scheduled one of the earliest presidential debates in history, which is June 27th, next week, which hopefully will be covered. But the gambit carries tremendous risk. While an efficient debate performance by Biden could help to rally Democrats behind him, a significant misstep would only stoke more replacement chatter. Former Clinton advisor and polling expert Mark Penn suggested the CNN debate would be Biden's last chance to reassure voters he's fit for the job. They've been deliberately thrown out the gauntlet for an early debate, Penn said. I think that's not going to be. I think that's the point of it's American judge. Is you ready for another term or not? The only people who could force him out would be Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer, one Democratic strategist told DailyMail.com. It would have to be the four of them collectively. The process would also be high risk, because one consultant theoretically described the difficulty level of replacing their candidate as similar to trying to turn that doomed container ship that careened into the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore in May. That the sad story ended in total collapse and 6 deaths, but the party insiders conclude that this candidate swap could work if everything was carefully planned and executed. Political columnist Joe Klein theorized that in a recent newsletter that if Biden were to stand down, a vigorous young candidate, don't ask me who, could win over the country with a single convention speech in August. In Klein's scenario, the Democratic Party savior would deliver an Obama-esque and inspirational speech akin to Barack's Barack's famous 2004 Democratic Convention address that would quickly bring together disaffected Democrats and modern independents. Plus, Klein, the Democratic Party's prestigious dislike of Trump would unite any disaffected factions behind a new nominee. But there's another potential complication because the recognized leader of the Democratic Party is stubborn Biden would refuse to step down and fight on Election Day. Even as the party grows more exasperated with his performance, Biden is fiercely proud of his first-term apologist, but he dubiously boasts of his more significant modern president's triumphs. Tough to be fair, Biden was the one who beat Trump in 2020, blah, blah, blah. And then he respects those. The Obamas have been keeping quite a distance from them.
Yeah.
They have an online nomination with a virtual roll call.
I mean, that's definite food for thought, though.
Yeah, so a Democratic strategist told the Daily Mail that if they need the collected works of Pelosi, Schumer, Obama, and Clinton in order to convince him to drop. I mean, would you what would happen if you had a bunch of old friends come up to you and be like, "Hey, you don't think you're getting a little too old, buddy? Come on, man. You sure you got another run in you? You're gonna be 90 by the time it's done. You'll be 90 years old. Sure you
And
okay
he's
with
just,
that?
and while they're talking to him, he's staring.
Why don't you take a rest, buddy? You need retirement. Come on.
And while they're doing that, he's staring like at the wall, like to the opposite of where they're facing. He's just staring at a wall. He has
ice cream.
He's like you remember you know in Skyrim, he's like slowly walking like into a table. He's like kind of just slowly like, what can I do for you? Just slowly walking into a table. That's but that's interesting. That is good food for thought because that is.
I want to keep that in the back burner because 2024. There's nothing on my bingo card that's been unchecked.
I don't have a bingo card anymore. I just have like a big card that says nothing surprises me anymore.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting.
And all lies will be revealed. That's all. But yeah, I mean that would be a good plot twist though, because it feels like the corporate press is kind of setting it up a little bit at least. Because why are they even showing us this? They could easily just not show any of this. Like from Biden just shitting and farting and pausing and
shitting and farting and pausing.
Shitting and farting and pausing and stuttering and like they could just not show it. They could not entertain it. They could, like, it's a press meeting. Why is she even taking questions from those people? We know all of this is controlled. It's all controlled apparatus. But now normal people, and I can see normal people, I can see even liberals now talking about like, is he doing okay? Like, they're the ones in the driver's seat, drooling on the Pope. Didn't he like shit his pants or fart on the Pope too? He did a lot of weird shit to the Pope.
He farted in front of Macron. I know that. But
he farted in front of Macron. I think he shit his pants in front of the Pope. Probably drooled on him. Like, it's just a long list of like 404 president not found. That's it really.
Let's move on to let's move on to our last segment here. The anti-Israel conservatives. Now, I've got a bone to pick with them. Because now, although I appreciate Tucker Carlson's voice, and it is quite a powerful one, especially on the Russia-Ukraine war, COVID, etc., he's still a simp for Trump. And it's, at the end of the day, he tried to be CIA. I'm sure everyone knows that story. But just a couple days ago, he went on. He had Glenn Greenwald on, and now this is an interesting. I am really starting to appreciate his guests, but listening to this, you cannot help but reflect to yourself, what is he doing? He sounds like he's deeply apologizing for his whatever slight criticism of Israel he's had. Let's just listen to
this. From my perspective,
this is throughout the entire Glenn Greenwald interview.
From my perspective, as an American, I think you can have any opinion you want on Israel. I'm not actually that interested. I personally like Israel. Whatever.
The pro-Israel sector of the American right has proven itself to be such utter and complete frauds about virtually every value they've spent the last decade pretending to champion and believe in, and it's been sickening to watch.
The reason it's scary is, again, has nothing to do with Israel at all, about which I have less emotion than most Americans, apparently. I just don't care that much either way.
The stories we did.
What I meant was I don't feel emotional. I just have gut level affection for it because I've had such a nice time there, and I like so many Israelis personally and know a lot, and I just there's nothing.
I want to know the Israelis that he knows, to be honest.
The whole IDF, the entire Mossad, Benjamin Netanyahu, his CIA handler might be Israeli. I'm not sure. Listen, guys, I'm just gonna throw it out right in front. Tucker Carlson is controlled opposition. This guy isn't speaking out against anything.
Sorry. Yeah.
And it's fucking obvious. If you're looking at this guy and going this guy's speaking the truth. No. He's controlled opposition and he's providing a limited hangout. When he criticizes things and breaks news for shit, it's stuff that's already it's either shit that's already gotten out there on some other platform. And go fucking fact check me on that shit. Go look at every single thing that Tucker Carlson has broke. It's already gotten out there. It's already out in circulation. So he comes off as this big truth teller, when in reality, it's already out there. The storming the Capitol shit was a psyop thing. That wasn't him. People were talking about that leagues before he was. It was already a narrative. There was already a discussion point. There were people already pointing out videos. So this whole this guy is the truth speaker. No, he's just a guy that is trying to pull you over into Chud land, okay? Because you're frustrated with the liberals and the current administration.
Well, he's a popular character. That's what he is. He's just a TV demagogue. Kind of people just worship him for that. So, I mean.
More wonderful than having dinner.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, and they can't risk anybody going over to the left from the frustrations with liberals. That's why people like Tucker Carlson exist. Because they'll say a lot of the right things. Okay? He said a lot of things about COVID that a lot of us agreed with. He said a lot of things about the proxy war in Ukraine that, again, we agreed with. But then look at Israel, look at China, look at anything else. Look at his takes on socialism. He knows nothing about. He claims to be an expert on the USSR. He gets basic shit wrong, to a McCarthyite level. He's there to keep people within the apparatus. Same thing with AOCIA. Same thing with all these other fuckers. All these people just exist, Young Turks, etc., to keep you within the apparatus because they can't have you straying from the acceptable boundaries. That's also why all these conservatives call Democrats communists and all this fucking unhinged bullshit. Anyway, let's keep going. Let's go see Tucker in Israel.
At least personally, and know a lot, and I just there's nothing more wonderful than having dinner in Jerusalem on a summer night. It's just so I have a lot of affection. I guess that's what I'm saying. So I'm not sort of animated by anything really. And I say that as someone who spent, I don't know, a couple of decades just sort of avoiding the topic just because I mean, almost all my friends love Israel. I have no problem with that at all. Great, love Israel. I mean, it doesn't bother me at all. As I've said 3 times, and I mean it, I just have great affection for the country and the people who live there. I'm like,
please don't fire, please don't assassinate.
Yeah, hardly anti-Israel, like not even a little bit. I really try not to think about it. I think I don't want not even a little. I just have great affection for the country and the people who live there. I'm like hardly anti-Israel, like not even a little bit. I really try not to think about it. I think I don't want to become angry at all, and I think that just being as honest as I can be, I do think, and I have noticed this, if you start focusing on the Israel question, people get really angry about this stuff, really angry, and it takes over their brains, and I just don't want that. And again,
well, yeah, you don't think that tens of thousands of children and women dying is not something to be angry about? And even like it just
doesn't think about it.
That like it's like I'm sure he's getting a lot of complaints from Zionists as well for interviewing that one Palestinian pastor, but. But you're so used to anger in all these other places, but not here.
Really angry about this stuff, really angry, and it takes over their brains, and I just don't want that. And again, even for people like me, who, I don't have any problem with Israel. I don't have any problem with people who love Israel. People who think Israel's great. Great. I love Israel as a place to visit, and I'm not against it.
There's no coming here. You can't get more cucked than this. You cannot get more cucked than that.
I'm sorry.
You don't.
Like, here's what he said.
That's Mossad agent. You might as well be like Elon Levy on.
From my perspective,
he probably is. And to be fair, I'm pretty sure Alex Jones is a Mossad agent too. But
yeah, no, he's controlled too because he says the same thing. He says the same exact thing.
Here's a really fucked up thing about all this, right? He's like, well, then people get really angry and it takes over their brains. Tucker, by the way, guys, this interview is happening while the events in Gaza are going down. This isn't in a vacuum. This isn't just hey, how you doing? Let's just talk. He's talking about this shit. So I'm sorry, but what he's kind of trying to point out there is like, you shouldn't let genocide take over your brain. I'm just pulling apart all the bullshit. I'm just getting to the meat of the issue. He's like, well, don't let like your feelings about children getting blown up like take over your brain. That's all he's saying. So fuck Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, so I do want to get into like the point that there is a pattern amongst these like sort of like conservative base. Like I want to like kind of like recognize how useful these people are to the movie, because like it is kind of like shaded in kind of like a Fetty type of way, and you see these patterns in all of them. Like all the ones who identify with like so kind of like a pro-Trump, like anti-Israel, crowd. You always see the same thing occurring, and it's always like this like shameless apologia for like whatever reason, while calling out the it's shame. It feels like there's someone watching them.
It was never going to fly.
Did you ever say or do anything which to a Jewish ear could be construed as anti-Semitic?
Well, let's be clear about all of these topics, whether we're talking about racism, sexism, anti-Semitism. Everything can be construed to an ear when you're talking about a subjective ear that I believe that this is racist. I mean, I could say, hey, Piers, you even asking me questions, and to me, it feels racist, right? A feeling and a fact are two different things. So what someone construes something is meaningless. Factually speaking, I have never said anything that is anti-Semitic, and had I have said something that was anti-Semitic, Andrew Klavan would have simply showed the clip.
Right, a lot of attention has been focused on you constantly referencing Christ is King. Many people believing that although those words in themselves, if you're a Christian, as you are, would not be offensive, that to Jewish people, when they're being whipped up on social media, as they were at the time, by people who are genuine white supremacists and pretty brazen anti-Semites, that being smart as you are, you would have known that to deliberately use that phrase repeatedly in that time, in that climate, was a deliberate act of provocation to people like Ben Shapiro, who obviously are extremely high-profile Jewish people. Do you accept that?
I'm sorry, which time frame are you talking about when you say at that time?
Well, since the start of the Israel-Hamas war.
Yeah, no. So that phrase, if you're talking about when it began to be a scandal, because I think everyone was quite confused when there was suddenly this narrative that it could be construed as anti-Semitic, which is why it required so much explaining by people of when it became anti-Semitic. I posted a standalone Bible verse, this is just a pure fact, calling for peace. And at the end of the verse, I ended it and said, Christ is King, last November. Andrew Klavan references that. The reason why this even became a scandal is because of Andrew Klavan. Andrew Klavan did an episode called Because Christ is Really King, and then he accused me wrongly of spitting that phrase at a Jew. That simply never happened, as I showed in my first episode back. It was just made that up out of thin air. I posted a standalone Bible verse, and I wrote at the end of it, Christ is King, and then a Jew responded to me telling me to quit my job. So what happens sometimes is then time passes, and people try to rewrite history, but we're not going to do revisionist history here. I tweeted Christ is King appropriately following a Bible verse when I was 38 weeks pregnant. And I stand by that proverb, and I stand by my declaring Christ to be king, as I have done many times in the past, because it's basic Christian doctrine.
Two things about that. Why would you tweet that particular passage from the Bible, ending Christ is King, on 14th of November 2023? What was your motivation?
Yeah, happy to answer that question. So if people remember what was happening at that time, Ben Shapiro was caught on a tape calling me faux sophisticated and some other stuff, a disgrace, I think was the term. And again, I was 38 weeks pregnant, about to give birth, and my husband just told me every media person in the world is Trump, very leftist. My husband told me to read the Bible. He said, just read the Bible. It's a lot happening. This drama, I don't mean like trauma in the very leftist, I feel traumatized by this, but just it's a lot happening leading up to birth. And my husband told me to read the Bible. He said, just read the Bible. You don't have to answer these media members. You don't have to give a comment. You don't have to say anything. These things are all fickle. It doesn't matter.
Just to be clear on the chronology, because the video of Ben saying what he said, we said, I think her behavior during this has been disgraceful, without a doubt. I think her faux sophistication. That came first. Yeah, that came out on 15th of November 2023. But you had posted what you posted on the 14th of November.
That's not correct. You have your timeline wrong. It was the video came first.
So you were responding directly to the video?
No, I'm trying to finish the story, but you just so you know, chronologically you have it wrong. His insult came first. I think it was on the 12th. The insult came.
Were you made aware of the insult because and then did it
I
become
found out
public?
on Twitter with everybody else. It was just trending, and so just to go back into it, my husband told me to read the Bible and to realize that these things are fickle, and that all of these journalists that were asking me to respond to them are doing it because all they want is clicks and money, and they want you, they want to use you for a moment that's not going to matter in the scheme of things in your life. And so I wanted to respond to all of these media members by saying that I'm calling for peace. Christ is King of my heart. I don't need this right now. So that was it.
When you appeared on Tucker Carlson on the 16th of November, you said, I will say I'm not going to respond with the same ad hominem attack. But you also told him that day that was when you first saw the video.
I didn't tell him I first saw the video on Tucker Carlson. I don't understand your question. Well, I told Tucker I saw the video on Tucker Carlson?
No, that you had seen the video for the first time that morning.
That I saw the video trending on Twitter, not the morning of Tucker's interview. Sorry,
I'm just trying to work out the exact correct chronology.
Yeah, I can help you.
Yeah. So you saw the video on Twitter, and then
on Twitter, yes.
Yeah. And then you put out the passage from the Bible as a reaction.
Contact because I decided that peace was the best strategy forward. Tucker was booked that day, but he had booked me 6 weeks in advance. That was just his luck that whole incident took place.
Right.
They knew I was going on his show. He books way out in advance, so it just happened to be his luck or misfortune, whichever way you look at it. That was
November the 3rd. What you in Gaza is that?
Sorry, I'm looking for a specific thing that you said.
Is that correct? Were you talking about Israel there?
No, actually, when I wrote that tweet, if you look right before that tweet, I had retweeted and liked something from a journalist named Ashar Ali. He had shared a clip of a Congressman, Brian Mast, who got up on a platform and said that there's no such thing as an innocent Palestinian life. That is despicable, genocidal language. And I am paraphrasing here, but Ashar Ali said, and he's pro-Israel, by the way, if I'm judging by what he puts online, he said, can we all just admit that this language is unacceptable? And I tweeted that no government in the world, and I was actually commenting on America, genocide is always wrong. And so, by the way, even if I was talking about Israel or I was talking about Palestine, that statement should hold.
No, I
there
agree.
is no justification ever in the world
but for the record,
genocide. So
I agree.
I was very surprised to see that tweet go viral and people so angry about it. I was actually overseas at the moment. I was in the UK. And so it seemed very strange to me that people would have a problem with it no matter what side you're on. But in that particular moment, I was talking about Brian Mast, and on my show, my very next show, I clarified that.
And do you think
is all of the people that are pro-Israel and say it's not a genocide won't tell me what is a genocide? What percentage of a population has to be killed before we can use the word genocide? It's a funny little thing. They won't tell you. They won't tell you what constitutes genocide. So I would like a clear understanding of how many Palestinians have to die before we are allowed to term it a genocide. All of the experts can't agree on what a genocide actually is, but they love to float around the word on virtually every other issue. I had Rabbi Barclay on my show, on one of my last shows when I was on the Daily Wire, and I asked him that question pointedly: what is genocide? Let us know, experts, what percentage of the population of Palestinians has to be killed before we are allowed to say that it's genocide? What I can tell you, Palestinian innocent lives that have been lost, innocent children has been.
Personally think it constitutes genocide, which is the deliberate.
What I'm saying to you is, we
well, I can tell you what
pursued on my show.
Yeah.
What is the number?
No, I understand.
What is the official number? That's it. I mean, somebody tell me, and I'll give you an answer.
Well, I don't think there is a
try
specific.
Try it when you have.
Well, it's not about a number. Well, no, because to eradicate.
That's not true, Piers, because in America they say that Native Americans, it was a genocide committed by white men. This is what they say, right?
No, but I'm talking about what the definition of a genocide is.
But what I'm telling you is that would be incorrect, because the majority of Native Americans died from smallpox. It was accidental. Some 90% of Native Americans that lived here died from smallpox.
I'm telling you.
What did she say?
Considered a genocide.
No, I understand. I'm telling you what the
Native Americans died from smallpox.
the definition of genocide.
How do people?
I got a bit of the theory
this
here.
Clown? I'm just taken away from that.
Speaking, 90% of them, 93% of them died from smallpox.
Little bit of the theory. What if all of the conservative, like pro-Palestine voices, anti-Israel voices, what if this is just a fucking op? Because all these people come off like goofballs. They come on here and they're from the right, and then they're like, they say all the right things, and then they come off as brain dead and soup-headed. What if this is just an op to keep conservatives from like speaking out? Accepting what this actually is.
No, it's kind of like a middle. I mean,
itself after the terror attack on October the 7th, but a fundamental duty to its people. And here's where I'm just curious about your tweeting through the 7th.
You're tweeting.
Should not be given an invitation to Congress. I think it's unacceptable.
I agree.
Unacceptable.
I don't
and
think
to be clear, for whatever the reason,
shouldn't be leader.
When it to be on that side, because at the end of the day, the hit pieces, the name calling, the anti-Semitism, the psychopathic language that seems to be coming.
Because on October the 7th, you didn't tweet anything. You didn't tweet anything on October the 8th. And October the 9th, you tweeted, so much world peace ever since we got the orange man out of office. So glad the adults are back in charge.
Good. We're back.
We're back. We're back. I finally fucking found it.
We're so fucking back.
We're so fucking back.
On October the 7th, you didn't tweet anything. You didn't tweet anything on October the 8th. And October the 9th, you tweeted, so much world peace ever since we got the orange man out of office. So glad the adults are back in charge. A lot of people say, well, if you care this much about innocent people being killed, why didn't you say anything when 1,200 people were massacred to death in the most brutal, barbaric manner in this awful terror attack by Hamas, and nearly 7,000 more were wounded, some of them catastrophically and irreparably? Why did that not compel you to say anything?
Well, first and foremost, Israel's a foreign country, so typically I talk about topics that have to do with America. Secondly, you're only quoting my Twitter feed. I'm also on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram. I also had a daily podcast in which I did respond directly about what happened and called the event horrific. Multiple times, said what Hamas did was absolutely horrific. So you're using a snapshot of my Twitter feed where you're acknowledging that I didn't tweet for days to suggest that I didn't have anything to say about what had happened. Now, to be clear, I am consistent on all matters. I do not want America involved whatsoever in anything that is happening in Israel. I don't want my dollars sent over to Israel. We should not be supporting Israel. Obviously, Thomas Massey has done a lot of work showing how it doesn't even make economic sense that we have so much debt and yet we're sending money over to support Israel. And the biggest issue, by the way, that I have with Israel in talking about them being above reproach is the fact that they are supplying the arms to murder Christians. Okay. In Armenia, the oldest Christian country in the world, and yet nobody talks about that. For whatever reason, it seems to be the circumstance that when Jewish people die in Israel, it's wall-to-wall coverage. But when Christians die all over the world, nobody talks about it. Everyone wants to correlate everything to World War II. Everyone wants to talk about Adolf Hitler, and rightfully so, he was a horrific person. But nobody wants to talk about Henryk Yagoda, right? Nobody wants to talk about the Bolsheviks. Nobody wants to talk about the Christian Holocaust. I am tired of the media exhausted.
The fucking Bolsheviks. The Bolsheviks.
We gotta reroute all of this back. We gotta reroute all of this back to. We covered this on the last episode, I'm pretty sure. But this whole comparing the U.S. You have to be unbelievably lost intellectually to compare the Bolsheviks to put it on the same level as
That's a Christian
actual-
genocide to Armenia. She said that to us. She said it's the same as Armenia.
Yeah. You have to be
That's crazy.
so fucking lost.
That was a civil war, dude. What are you talking about? Dude, what? The Civil War wasn't just the Bolsheviks.
That's a really good point by Cookies. A very quick and easy flag to let you know someone is grifting is that they talk extremely fast so you don't keep up with lies they tell. Very on point. Ben Shapiro, Destiny, this chick. Yeah,
But
Tim
like,
Pool,
yeah,
Vosh, all it's
Tim Pool's another one. Tim Pool's another one where he's like basically like you shouldn't. Oh, can you find that clip of him saying like people? Or is that what is that a tweet? He said something about pro-Israel. I'm repairing. Oh, here we go. This is from Middle MAGA. They're trying to change the definition of America first.
And I think we're wasting money on foreign excursions. Here's the problem. When Nick Fuentes says independence from Israel, I assure you the average person believes that's ridiculous. They have their audience. The average person likes Israel. They do not agree with Nick Fuentes on this one. The other big issue is that a lot of Christians, a lot of evangelical.
I mean, he's never been. I don't think he's ever been consistently anti-Israel at any point. Right? He's pretty much always on this side.
So this
Either
guy,
way.
he's always flip-flopped on everything. He doesn't have any principles.
He doesn't have an opinion. Yeah.
All Pim Tool is here for is the culture war shit. He has no opinion on anything other than like culture war shit. He's like the king of culture war. It's so cringe.
It's terrible. It's terrible what it does. And then all of this is nothing. It has nothing to do. I feel like a lot of this is just like to grab like an anti-Israel like niche and just like push them into Trump for no reason. Even though like despite that he's a Zionist, like push these anti-Israel people into voting for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to this.
Exactly. The only acceptable frame is to say
this is like the anti-Semitic king.
The only
in the media's eyes, at least.
The only acceptable frame is to say that we're going to fight for a seat at the table in the right wing. Sorry, the right wing is not just for pro-Israel people anymore. Now there is a very loud and a growing and enthusiastic and young Israel-critical faction in the right wing. Yes, we support Trump. We do not support his support for Israel, but we understand it. We are not. We don't identify as Republicans. We don't identify as conservatives. We are right wing. We are nationalists. We are reactionaries. We are Christians. We are under the age of 65. We do not watch Fox News. We do not get tricked with Israel propaganda. And as we get older, we are going to take over all the organs of the right wing. And when it is politically viable, we are going to fulfill Trump's vision. We will finish what he started. We will do what he cannot. And we will break the last chains around America's neck from the Israel lobby.
That's the plan. They want to do a Justice Democrats for Trump, basically. They want to work from the inside of the Republican Party to eventually take over and affect the foreign policy on Israel. The whole Congress is bought out, dude.
Bro, how down fucking bad as a person do you have to be to like identify as a reactionary? Like you're proud of being a reactionary. You actually refer to yourself as a reactionary. How scuffed does your brain have to be? Or Nick Fuentes' case, like how much of an obvious fucking Fed do you have to be? Because that guy's a Fed. I'm sorry. Nick Fuentes is a fucking
he's a Fed. He's a Fed.
100%. I've never seen
like
someone
fuel
who
anger for no reason.
This motherfucker glows more than Vosh does. He glows more than Destiny does. This guy, there's no way this is an organic human being. No way.
Yeah, no.
Also, he
was
hung
made
out
in the
with
lab.
Destiny for a while, so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's gay too. There's a lot of people, may toss that. You can do that research on your own, but he's pretty sure he's gay, even though he like keeps on railing about the homos.
That's kind of a conservative like trope, though, right? Like all these people who are talking about
that was
get called like a bathhouse or some shit. It's funny.
Who was that old Republican senator that?
I don't know. Let's keep going. It's getting late.
I mean, there's like Lindsey Graham and shit like that. But like it was one of Trump's like old like advisors or whatever. But like he ran for Congress a long time ago. He was like very scandalous. McCarthy's buddy.
It's eluding me.
It's like bothering me now. But they're always caught in scandals. I mean, this should be obvious to everyone. But anyway, this is just how you get duped, like this.
50 times. Thank you, man. I don't know. I got a little girl I love, and I gotta see. I think this could be it. Well, if it.
So, Khalib asks, "I'm gonna stop this Palestine war. Only for weeks later to appear in front of Logan Paul.
Yeah.
And then say it was complete. It was only referencing Ukraine.
And you're a real fighter, by the way.
It's not good. It's not good. I don't shy away from conflict. My fiance has a problem with it.
Yeah.
It's not good. You're much more diplomatic than I probably would be.
It's very interesting though. So Khabib came up to me after the fight the other night, and you guys would probably say he's the best ever, maybe, and
probably
certainly he probably is, and are very close, right? John Jones, a lot of people say.
I'd say 1 and 2.
And he said to me, "Oh, I hope you can get in because we have to stop the wars. We have to stop the killing. He was so smart. He understood it. And I think he's friends or was friends, but I think he is friends with Putin very much.
Yeah.
But he said we have to stop the killing, and it's true. And I think I'd have that war stopped if I was president-elect. Right after the election, if I win, I will get that war stopped. I'll get it stopped fast before I get to office. If it's not stopped before then."
Talking about Russia, Ukraine.
I'm talking about Russia, Ukraine.
Yeah, Beku, he's a UFC champion. So like, he's his politics are kind of good, but like he's a dumbass. They're all fucking dumbasses. They get hit all the time, dude. Like so this is getting duped 101.
He either did the con man thing where he didn't really listen to what Khabib said. He was just like, yeah, I'll just do it. Yeah, we're going to do it. Like, he was like, whatever this guy's going to ask me, I'm just going to affirm it. Because that's going to be a good clip. It's going to look good. I can tell cameras are rolling. Or
clearly
this was all deliberate. And he was like, yeah, I said that then, but I actually meant Russia and Ukraine because I'm going to just annihilate Gaza. So.
Yeah. So it's getting pretty late now. Sort of running a long time anyway. But that's all I got for tonight, folks.
That's all I got too. Just wanted you guys to.
We got more in the works. Now, you can. In the description is the Telegram that I'm trying to build up. I'm going to be trying to post more news there as I go. I'm sort of like doing that anyway. So, bring me, follow, subscribe to the Almost Politically. You got coming up. You're streaming on Saturday. You have Angel and Tara tomorrow.
Yeah. I actually got some really fun shit for everybody who wants to tune in on Saturday night on Snow Himbo Streams. We're going to be playing the Elden Ring expansion Shadow of the Erd Tree that just dropped. It just dropped. I got it downloaded. I got it all set up. I'm going to be loading my last character that I played. I haven't played Elden Ring in a long ass time, so I'm probably going to suck. But we're going to check out the expansion because every review I've seen from it is that it's incredible. So we're not going to be doing Thaumaturge. We'll be returning to the Thaumaturge the week after. Maybe, actually, possibly not, because there's a Monsters and Memories. There's a lot going on. Anyway, tune in Saturday night. We're gonna be going balls deep into the Elden Ring DLC, the Elden Ring expansion. It's gonna be dope as hell. So you can look forward to that. There isn't going to be anything else there. We're not doing any politics stuff. We're not doing any like This Week on Twitter. We're just going to devote our full attention to properly sampling this fucking badass DLC. So join me there.
Yeah. I'm getting pretty tired too. But I also missed how did we miss that on Sunday? I happened to miss How Did We Miss That? Crazy.
How did you miss that?
But that's Indy and Reef coming up on Sunday. Of course, you have your regular shows. I should have that more handy, the schedule or something. But either way, hope you all have a good night. Check out any coming clips that are coming up on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe. We're only 5 away from 2K. So have a good night, folks.
Have a great night, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. Remember to keep questioning everything. And most importantly, okay, be sure to get teabagged multiple times a day, because that's how you can fully concentrate throughout your day. You need a couple teabagging. That's at least a couple, 2 tea bags, right. 2 tea bags in your mouth, and that's how you can fully focus throughout the day.
Yeah, so, like in Halo 3. Like if you
got Halo 3 is a perfect example.
Body like teabagged right in the mouth.
You need tea bags in your mouth in order to defeat capitalism.
That's where we're at. That's where we're at. All right. Well, I hope everyone has a good night.